What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another emergency episode of Bucco Territory presented by the Foul Territory Network. He is Platinum Key, a.k.a. Mark. I am Noah Hiles, and we bring you some reactions to more Pirates-related breaking news. Mark, for the second time in the same calendar week, your Pittsburgh Pirates have signed or have acquired an all-star, and this one comes, believe it or not, via free agency. They sign all-star first baseman / outfielder / DH Ryan O'Hearn. The deal was 2 years, $29 million plus some incentives. It is their first multi-year free agent deal since Ivan Nova. They can finally put that stat to bed. And that is something that this franchise has desperately needed to take care of. They did it. Mark, just the last time we recorded, I went out of my way to say, Ben Cherington has spent his capital, right? He's traded away pitchers that he's acquired, that he's, hired people to develop. It was time for them to spend a little bit of money, and they did that. This is one of the best free agents out there this offseason. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like he is a franchise-altering talent. This is an above-average baseball player, a guy who would make any lineup better.
An all-star.
They can find a spot for him. Yeah, he's an all-star baseball player. There's still a lot more work to be done. I don't think they're a playoff team just yet, but I do think they're a better baseball team right now. Again, I'll ask you the same question I asked you last Friday. How excited are you about this news?
Even more exciting. This is over the moon. Like, I'm ecstatic. We might not be there yet, but we are right on the doorstep of being a competitive baseball team. The Pirates just added 2 2025 All-Stars. They added 2 guys that, if they were on the Pirates last year, would have been the 2 best hitters in the lineup.
Yep.
They added 2 left-handed bats that both bring power, that both have OPSs around 800. This is a fantastic move. This is everything we were begging for the months leading up to this week. This is exactly what we've been saying. Hey, if the Pirates want to compete, they need to trade for Brandon Lau and go sign Ryan O'Hearn. What did they do? They traded for Brandon Lau and they signed Ryan O'Hearn. And so it's refreshing, to put it. I'll put it that way. Still a lot more to be done, but every step of the way so far, they've been making the right moves, and it's just a really, really exciting time to be a Pirates fan.
Having covered this team, obviously, for a few years, in the off seasons, I would write these wish lists, right? That, like, you could say, okay, here are 50 players the Pirates should try to acquire. Mm-hmm. And it was pretty dejecting after spending like a whole week writing something like that to see not one of those 50 players acquired. Yeah. But these are guys that would have been on those lists if I was still on the Pirates beat, right? Like, these are guys that you look at and you say, this is a fit that makes sense. They're in their price range, either through trade, acquisition, price tag, or just free agency, and they went out and got him. And if I would have told any Pirate fan, a couple minutes after Travis Williams stumbled over his words,
I was just about to bring that interview up.
Full stop. Yeah, and if I would have said, a couple minutes after that, like, hey, well, guess what? Like, that was bad, and I know you're upset that Cherington's back and Williams is back, and they won't commit to even saying they're going to spend more money. They're going to acquire 2 All-Stars. They're going to acquire a top 100 prospect who's major league ready. They're going to acquire like a 4th outfielder platoon guy who hit 296 as a rookie and is a plus defender at all 3 outfield spots and steals 20-plus bases. And then a young left-hander who is a project but throws 100 miles per hour and has a solid slider. And they're going to do all of this before Christmas.
Yeah, I would have called you crazy. No one would have
believed that.
No. Yeah. And I'm optimistic, and I would have still called you probably crazy.
Yes. And so you look at the big picture now here, Mark. I mean, they still have prospects to trade. Mm-hmm. They have not traded away any of their farm, unless you want to include Mike Burrows or, the few low-level prospects they threw in the Oviedo deal. They still have, depending on, what projected payroll reports have been out there, probably still have a little bit of money to spend. Don't know if it's Okamoto money anymore. Maybe it is. Maybe probably it's not. And obviously that payroll can be adjusted. If you move a guy who's in arbitration away, then you have more money to spend. So we'll figure out what that budget will end up looking like. But for all intents and purposes, this is the best offseason they've had on paper in the many years that Ben Cherington's been here.
Easily.
And there's still room to improve. There's even small signings. You look at some of the other moves they made last year. If they were to add the equivalent of like a Caleb Ferguson who signed like a 1-year, $3 million deal or so, like moves like that for the bullpen make a ton of sense. They still have room for that. And if you want to go trade for a year of Alec Baum or a couple years of Adley Rushman or, sign a free agent, if you want to extend your payroll a little bit and sign an Okamoto, like there's still room to get better. And yeah, they're doing everything fans would have hoped to see them do so far, I think.
Yeah, I mean I just got home from not home. I just got to Wisconsin from a drive, so I really haven't gotten to see like the fan reaction on Twitter yet. But I'm so excited to take a look because I've never seen a Pittsburgh Pirates offseason where the fans are celebrating the moves the teams are making, where the teams making moves that are making waves. Like I saw someone left a comment that's like, I'm going to go spend some money on Bob Nunning's baseball team after this offseason now that I wasn't planning on doing before. This is exactly what this fan base needed. Who knows if it's actually going to come to fruition, if anything's going to work out next season here coming up. But at least they're putting together an offseason that gives the team a chance, which I haven't seen the past 2 off seasons. And so it's really, really refreshing to see the correct moves being made, confidently being made, and done so in a way that doesn't completely strip this team of the future either. Outside of losing Paul Skeens, I mean, pretty much everyone on this team is still intact. You still have Mitch Keller locked up. You still have a lot of your young pitching prospects. You still have Bubba Chandler. You still have Seth Hernandez. You still have Connor Griffin. So there's a lot of reasons to believe in this team all of a sudden.
I want to say one thing as well, real quick. These moves, I don't know if they happen without Paul Skeens.
Right.
And I'm not even saying the verbal pressure that Paul kind of put on them when he spoke with me in Denver last year, and he did some other interviews as well where he kind of suggested, like, I really hope we add some bats. I just think the national attention that comes from having Paul Skeens on your team prevented the Pirates from being able to be incompetent.
Right. To do the same thing.
Background. Right? They couldn't fail quietly anymore. And the noise got so loud that it became a national story. The sell the team shirts and chants and the disaster that was Pirate Fest and the Bucco Bricks and Surfside and just the horrible vibes that surrounded this team at the end of the season. And, the reports about how players didn't necessarily believe that they were trying to win. Like all of this stuff.
Right.
Would have probably just been a Pittsburgh story if they didn't have the best baseball player or one of the best baseball players in the world, the best pitcher in the world, maybe.
Exactly.
On their team, and the rest of the baseball world saying, get this guy out of there. They're not trying. I think it did put additional pressure on them. Now, I'm not saying that people in their front office weren't trying. I think Ben Cherington's always been trying. But it does seem like there have been more green lights than in past years. And I 100% believe that the pressure, not the losing, because they've lost so many times, right? I think it's the pressure that came from that losing, that came from just that absolute joke of a 2025 season that finally forced the man at the top to say, all right, we've got to do something different. And it might just be to make himself look good heading into a CBA negotiation. It might just be so people stop chasing him through the concourse. Regardless of the reasoning, they're doing the things that their fans have been begging them to do for a long time now. It's still not enough. They still need to do more. The way I see it right now, this is about a 500 ball club with the pitching. But your mission this offseason was to turn the worst offense in Major League Baseball into an average offense. If you can do that, your pitching's good enough where you're probably going to be able to sneak into a wild card berth.
Especially with this division,
Yes. I don't know if they're an average offense yet, but when you look, O'Hearn is going to be an above average bat, more likely than not. Lau is going to be an above average bat, more likely than not. Connor Griffin, you feel pretty good about his offensive capabilities. And then the platoon of Mangum and Garcia, you feel pretty good about those two as a platoon, not to mention what they're capable of achieving individually. You feel good about that compared to anything else you've had in left field for recent years.
Oh yeah,
And then when you add all of those newcomers, right? That's more lineup protection for Brian Reynolds and O'Neal Cruz, who have essentially had to carry this team on their back offensively. And if you look at their best months offensively, it's typically when a Rowdy Tellez is red hot, or a
when
Henry
there's help.
Davis has a good
Yep,
stretch, or a Jared Triolo has a good stretch, or Spencer Horwitz turns it on. When people around them are hitting the baseball, those guys produce a lot better. And now they've added people to lengthen that lineup, to get some lineup protection, and I think make their competent hitters that they already had better.
exactly.
So, yeah.
And
Now, I will
speaking
say,
of newcomers, really quick, we have
yes.
a new advertiser on the podcast. So
Yes.
we're gonna cut to real quick here. Hear a word from our sponsor.
This episode is sponsored by So Many Angels, a nonprofit founded by local photographer Matt Myers that provides free professional photo experiences for children facing cancer and other life-altering medical diagnoses. Their photo sessions are designed to help kids see themselves as strong, confident, and heroic. The next Pittsburgh experience is February 1st, and they're currently looking for families who could benefit. Visit SoManyAngels.org to learn more, share the link, or find ways to support this incredible Pittsburgh nonprofit. That's SoManyAngels.org. All right, Mark. So now, as we wrap this up, I'll ask you the same thing I asked you again on Friday. What's next? They made the trade.
Mm-hmm.
They signed a multi-year free agent. What's next? What's the next piece of the puzzle? And what are you hoping? Like when you're looking at your wish list,
Right.
what's the biggest item remaining on it?
I'm still getting greedy and saying one more free agent. One more free agent bat to be more specific. Either a third baseman. I mean, I love Jared Triolo. I don't know if that's going to make me feel confident if that's the starting third baseman for opening day. So I still think, like Eugenio Suarez or Okamoto, if he's cheap, I still think there's room in the Pirates budget. If you just open up that wallet just a tiny bit more, just like 10, 20 more million. And I don't think that's going to impact the Pirates too negatively. I think if you build a team that can make the playoffs, whatever dollars you spend this offseason, you're going to get right back. I mean, this is a sports town that's going to fill up PNC Park. And I mean, we saw that in 2013. So, like, if you build it, they will come. And you just got to put those final bricks together to build that for those people to come. And I think in Okamoto would do that. I think a Eugenio Suarez would do that. I really like the third base edition, but you could get away with another outfield edition too. And maybe O'Hearn can play like a little bit of right field, but yeah, that's where I would go. I still think you got to add at third base, and if not, maybe catcher. JT Realmuto is still out there. Maybe bring in like a veteran presence like him, a really good clubhouse guy to just keep everyone on track. So that would be where I would head, is free agency still, but I think trade is probably the more likely of the two options. But I like how many free agents are still out there to still go out and pursue that route.
Yeah, I think my hesitancy would be if they go the free agent route, then they might be more inclined to clear up some salary. And I don't know exactly how you. All right, Mark. So I asked you this question last week. I'll ask it again. What's next?
Yeah. So, I mean, I still think free agency, again, is the way to go. Trades might be a little bit easier still, but I think there's still so many decent free agents that are out there that are available right now that you have to still pursue them. I mean, you still need a third baseman. So look at Eugenio Suarez or look at Okamoto. Add more power to this lineup. Yes, O'Hearn and Lau both help, but this team desperately needed bats. It wasn't just a few bats. This team needed 3-4 impact bats to really just become an average lineup in the MLB. So go out and add one more free agent, probably a third baseman, maybe a corner outfielder that can also DH, like maybe a Marcell Ozuna could be another option too. More power again. But at the same time, trades are probably going to be easier. I don't know how willing the Pirates are going to be to continue to open up the pocketbooks, but I think that's the best path forward for now. That's what I would want next would be a third baseman. So give me Okamoto, give me Suarez, one of the two.
I'm looking at the trade market. I think that's what makes complete and total sense. You haven't traded away any of your prospect capital, and I know I've said that earlier in the show, but I'll reiterate it again because you've been able to get so much from two guys who might not have even been
Right.
in your starting rotation by the final week of the regular season in 2026. So now you have prospect capital to move, and I would look at third base, I would look at catcher, and I'm trying to find a plus value bat there that doesn't. I mean, I personally don't care what the price tag is financially, but if you can find a plus value bat there that's within your budget, I think it's a no-brainer. So that's where I'm going. I'm looking at the trade market, and I'm looking at a guy like Adley Rushman. I'm looking at a guy like Alec Baum, who can help you win now and probably won't have a huge cost to get here. Those are the two guys I'm looking at.
I think Baum makes a lot of sense. He would,
Yeah.
I think he would be really cheap. 1 year left on his deal. Philly, I think, kind of seems like they're ready to move on from him. And he might not be the biggest trade that or acquisition that the Pirates could make at third, but he's still better than what they have right now. He would be an improvement to Jared Triolo. And then that would also let Triolo back up everywhere else in the infield and be the utility player where that's really his strong suit rather than just sticking him at third. So, yeah, I think third base makes a lot of sense. Maybe another former Philly, JT Realmuto still out there. Could also bring a decent bat to catcher with some good athleticism and a lot of great leadership and clubhouse presence. So there's still plenty of options out there to improve this team.
That's the big takeaway I have from this. We're still 2 days before Christmas. The Pirates are a better baseball team.
Oh yeah,
they have I think their rotation will be better than it was last year, simply because you're able to retain Mitch Keller and have Bubba Chandler for a full year and Braxton Ashcraft for a full year,
Jared Jones
and you get
back.
Jared Jones back. So your greatest strength is going to be stronger. The bullpen I don't see being worse, and your lineup. You've already just added 2 all-stars.
Yep.
2 young talents that can platoon together. You have the number 1 prospect in baseball coming up at some point this season, and you still have a lot of time to keep adding. Again, I don't think they're a playoff team yet, but I don't think they're crazily far away, especially when you consider some of the teams that snuck in recent years in this NL wildcard. I don't think they're that far away from being a 2025 Cincinnati Reds, if not better.
Yeah.
And that's a reason for Pirates fans to be excited.
Oh yeah. I mean, this 1 week it's got to give you some encouragement. This is unlike anything we've seen from the Pirates in a really, really long time. And so if this isn't getting you excited as a Pirates fan, you might need to check yourself a little bit. Because these are concrete moves that we've been asking for, and they're doing them. I just, how can you criticize that? Yeah, we know they're not going to go out there and get a Schwarber or like a Pete Alonso or one of these big names. Like, they're not going to be in on Kyle Tucker. But this is everything but. This is as close as I feel like the Pirates can get. This is their ceiling for what their offseason looked like to me. So I'm very, very pleased as a fan right now. Still more work to do, but where they should be at this point, I feel like they're ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. All right, well, I think that's all we got for this one. Mark, I want you to enjoy the holiday season. I want all of our listeners to enjoy it too. And I want to remind everyone to subscribe if you have not already. As we continue our mission to 1,000 subscribers, hit that button, subscribe, and we want you all to have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We'll be seeing you. We'll be seeing you next week here on Bucco Territory, presented by the Foul Territory Network.